Well, welcome in to My Dogs Are Barking on MPW Digital. My name is Landon, and I have got Austin back with me for the new year. We're excited to be back, aren't we, man? Like finally.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of, it's been a kind of a dead period for sports for a lot of ways, and I'm everybody watching. Thank y'all so much for watching, first of all. But I hope y'all had a great holidays, great New Year, great Christmas. We've been gone for a little bit, so it's good to be back for 2025, and we're so excited to see where this podcast goes, and we really thank y'all so much for listening.
Absolutely, man. As always. And we're planning on coming back next or last week and had a run in with the old COVID. And so was having a tough time. And I was trying to think like to push through it and see if I can just do my thing, but I was supposed to speak at something else, and it'd be like 30 minutes of talking, and I couldn't even do that. So my voice was shot. So it is good to finally be back, and we're going to talk about a few different things today. Talk about Mississippi State's win, the men's win yesterday or Saturday over South Carolina in dominating fashion, opening up the SEC. And also get to portal additions, and then also really just kind of what needs are left for Mississippi State in the portal. I think there's one glaring need. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, and kind of talk about kind of where they sit at this moment. I think there's some things to be encouraged by, and then there's really just there's a couple of spots that are still questionable, but it looks like State is making some waves to try to make some of those things up. So we will get into that, men's basketball, women's basketball for the Bulldogs, and the transfer portal. Before we do all that, want to make sure to let you know that our show is brought to you in part by Arpa's Coffee Bar in Starkville. Arpa's understands that great food and drinks are best enjoyed in the company of friends and loved ones. Their awesome and inviting atmosphere creates a perfect backdrop for laughter, conversation, shared memories. And so whether you're speaking a good spot to catch up over coffee, a good spot to celebrate a special occasion, a good late night hangout spot, their friendly staff is dedicated to ensure your experience is nothing short of exceptional. It's located in the heart of the Cotton District. And mention that you are a listener of the My Dogs Are Barking podcast, and you get 15% off of your order. So that's a need. You need to do that, especially with all these SEC games going on. You want to go to Starkville, try something new. ARPA's needs to be a place you try. Whether you were there for breakfast or you're going late in the afternoon, like they have it all. So make sure you check them out. And then also, hey, all this talk about transfer portal and people signing incredibly expensive deals makes you ask the question, what does it mean to be rich? Well, maybe it's less about reaching a magic number and more about discovering the magic in life. Skip Langley is your Batesville, Mississippi, Edward Jones advisor serving clients in the area and across the state. So count on him for financial strategies that can help you support a life you love. Because the key to being rich is knowing what counts. Contact him today at 662-563-9843. And together, you can find your rich. Edward Jones, member SIPC. Austin, Mississippi State started off with a bang on Saturday. State really, from the moment the game tipped off, looked like they were in full control. Ended up winning the game versus South Carolina by 35 points. I do want to share, if you are watching on YouTube, I do want to share the screen just to kind of look at the game recap. We can kind of walk us through what we're looking at, Austin, in the dominating win that they had.
Yeah, I mean, you just said it. It was dominating. I mean, for the past we've had three big games so far. We've had the Pitt game, we've had the Memphis game, and then we've had the South Carolina game, and we have destroyed them in all three of those games. I mean, Butler was not a game that we were favored to win in that game, and we just let it slip away. We were taking bad shots, and they just weren't falling. And it's okay, because if you told me, hey, Austin, January 7th, we're going to be 13-1, I'm being like, hey, I will take that any day of the week. And then coming into conference play, what a way to make a statement. I mean, defensively and offensively, Claudio Harris gave you 17 points. He's got to keep doing that. And obviously, Josh Hubbard is one of the, I mean, it's just, I feel like he doesn't get talked about enough. I really do. He's such an unbelievable player, one of the best point guards in the entire conference, and obviously in the entire league. He's a heck of a player, but this game was just not competitive. I mean, ever. We were winning like 22-4 or 20, I think it was 21-4. And I mean, we just kept fighting. Keyshawn Murphy, I mean, last year watching him, I was like, this guy's not very good. I mean, I just didn't see the potential. I thought he could be a whole lot better, but I did not think he could be a 5. I'll tell you that. He's been a great big man for us, and he's been our X factor in almost every single game that we've won. This guy's played unbelievable. He plays like a big. Obviously, he can stretch the floor a little bit. If he had a 3-point shooter, if he was like had a 3-point shot that was a little bit more consistent, he would just be so unstoppable. But he can still shoot the rock. And so Keyshawn Murphy, we got Josh Hubbard. I mean, we just have guys that can make plays. And then defensively, I mean, defensively holding an SEC team to 50 points in the entire game is, I mean, that's insane. I mean, what a great game to start out SEC play. We gotta, nobody would think about this after they fired Jerry Stackhouse, but I mean, Vanderbilt's 13-1, and we got a big game against them coming up. But what a way to put us on the map for SEC play.
Yeah, and it was without Kanye Clary again in this game, Jans has said it was a lower leg injury. I'm just going to tell you something that I thought the moment that he talked about Clary for the very first time. I'm putting my tinfoil hat on for a second. I don't have any sort of like insider information, but the first time he was ever asked a question about it, I was in the room, and his answer, he didn't make eye contact. He seemed like he wanted to, and he was very short and wanted to keep going and go to the next thing. And I know like coaches can be worried about injuries. I just didn't believe him when he was talking about the lower leg injury. Take that for what it's worth. I don't know if there's any sort of genuine thing to think about with that. It just I didn't believe him when he said that it was a lower leg injury. Then it just looked a little fishy. It looked like someone who was trying to change the subject really fast to not bring out what's really going on. Again, I don't know that, and that could be completely accurate. But just just something to monitor as time goes on. And the fact is, I mean, State didn't need him. You mentioned the defense. State's defense has been all over the place. Think of a guy like Sean Jones, um, played 16 minutes, and yeah, he had 2 points, but that's not really the point. Like he was all over the place when it came to being an additional kind of defensive pest there. Riley Kugel didn't have his best scoring game. And I don't know what it is about Riley Kugel, man. The poor guy, like, there's sometimes the three is just not falling for him, and it's close, like it rims out or something. But you're right. Keyshawn Murphy is the one of the main X factors just because he can come off the bench and do so well. Claudel Harris gave you 17. Michael Nwoko couldn't give you any points. That's a little concerning. But then you got Cam Matthews, that's just the do-it-all player. He is just, man, he is so good. He's going to be a guy that State misses later on. RJ Melendez played significant minutes. And so, yeah, now you move forward, Austin, with Mississippi State's schedule. And State the rest of the way, again, for the YouTube folks, I'm going to pull up State's basketball schedule for the rest of the season. You mentioned the first one coming up here is, you see that? Yeah. Is Vanderbilt. And Vandy, that's going to be this Tuesday night. It's in Nashville. Vanderbilt is a team that, as you said, you wouldn't really expect them to be 13-1 thus far. And they've got some pretty decent wins on the road versus Virginia Tech, TCU, neutral site, Nevada, neutral site, Seton Hall. They beat Cal at home. And then they went on the road and beat LSU. And I know LSU is not a great team, but Vanderbilt, that's a game, especially on the road, you really do need to win, right?
For sure. I mean, we talked about what we need to play in the SEC play to make the tournament. And, if we lose this game, it's not the end of the world. But yeah, I think I wouldn't say this is a must win, but this would be a great win because this is a game we're going to be favored in. I mean, ESPN, the percentage is going to have us over Vanderbilt. I can guarantee it. And, it's an important win. I feel like every single game in SEC play is so important. But to start 2-0 in SEC play, especially against teams that aren't ranked like South Carolina and Vanderbilt, we need to win those games. So that way, if we end up losing to number 1 Tennessee or Alabama or Auburn or even Ole Miss or Kentucky, then those games won't hurt us as much. So for seeding, I feel like this is a major game because we can't keep like the Butler game really hurt us. And, we can't keep losing to these unranked teams and then smashing these ranked teams. We need to finish and, we don't need to play to anybody's level. And I feel like, the better the team is, the better we've played. But I mean, the worse the team is, sometimes, there's been a couple games that we've kept it close with teams that have no business of keeping it close with
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
So
Bethune Cookman had their game. I mean, so much closer than it needed to be.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's been, and then I forgot there was another game that was just like that too, where we were favored to win by like 28 points, and then we only won by like 10 or 15. I believe
I
there was
think it's
another
Prairie
game.
View.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Prairie View A&M. We were like favored to win by a massive blowout. We kept it close because we're playing down to these guys' standards. Vanderbilt, obviously the past couple years has not been good. They've been probably the worst team in the SEC, or one of the worst teams in the SEC. We got to come out, make a statement, and say, "Hey, we're not going to play down to these levels. We gotta beat them down in Nashville."
Yeah, you're right. It must win is probably the wrong term, but it really helps you out because then the next 4 games is, I mean, really 3 out of the 4 specifically is murderers row, man. So like, let's say you get the win versus Kentucky. Well, then you host, pardon me, versus Vanderbilt. Then you host Kentucky on Saturday, which will be a huge game. And Kentucky, man, they're really good. Like they're beatable, but they're really good. Then on a Tuesday night, you go at Auburn. Lord have mercy. That's going to be really difficult. State, that was one of the most physical matchups last season, was games with Auburn. And then State has Ole Miss at home. That'd be a good win. Ole Miss coming off a win on for their first SEC game versus Georgia. And then at number 1 Tennessee, and then you get the same South Carolina team back. I think if you look at what's ahead, these games, so you got Vandy, Kentucky, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out of those 5, if you can find yourself winning, I don't know, two sounds like a low number to say. I got a 5 games, but it's a really hard 5 game stretch, especially with 2 of them on the road. It seems like winning 2 of those 5 would be would kind of keep your head afloat. If you won 3 out of those next 5, you would be ahead of schedule. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think, as a fan perspective, saying you want to win 2 out of 5 sounds terrible, but guys, I mean, we got to be realistic. I mean, look at this. I mean, we can't just be watching Mississippi State basketball. These other teams are unbelievable in the SEC. So I agree with you. I think 2 is the magic number for us to try to get.
Ugh. Yeah, well, State obviously has had a good start to the season, but now comes the time where you really kind of see what you have. Overall, State is ranked number 17 in the net, which is very impressive. Mississippi State women had an unfortunate loss on Sunday. Led number 1 South Carolina in the first quarter, and then all of a sudden South Carolina just, or not first quarter, yeah, first quarter. Sorry, the men's halves versus the quarters for women always get me confused. But and then the South Carolina's women just completely took it over. I mean, it's a difficult thing to do anyway, trying to beat a powerhouse. But I don't know. People seem to think the Sam Purcell team is slipping. It's not a team that's probably better than it was last year. But having a good start versus South Carolina and then completely going kind of unraveling down the stretch is obviously not what you have in mind. Anything to add for that one, Austin? You might not. I didn't prep you for that. I brought it up.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I mean, I checked. I was doing something during this game, but I was checking the score, and I saw, I think we were up by 8 in the first quarter, and I was like, "Oh shoot!" And then I checked the score. I think we were losing by like 27 points. I was like, "Dang." I've been keeping up. I've been keeping up with this team for every game. I think that was our second loss, if I do believe so, second or third loss. And yeah, I mean, we got Debris Chapeau back with this game, but other than that, I mean, Jerkayla Jordan, she's been off and on this year. She's kind of gotten it better. I don't know if you saw, but she got her own barbecue sauce called the jerk sauce. I thought that was so cool. But so shout out to her for that. That's sick. But yeah, I mean, Sam Purcell, elite recruiter. This guy is so fun. I love him. Like, personality wise, I would love to meet him. Like, he's just somebody you could hang out with. He just seems like such like the nicest guy ever. And he was a first time head coach going into this, and there's a lot to learn. But this is his third season. I think it's his third season, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, going into his third season, he's still trying to learn. His assistant coaches, he got Victoria Vivens as an assistant coach. Great hire. That was outstanding. And I'm excited to see what we can do, especially in SEC play. But we got to get these key wins. I mean, even if we're able to keep that close, that would have been great. Nobody thought we were going to win. I thought we had like a 10% chance of winning. I think ESPN said going into it or something. So nobody really thought we were going to win. I mean, I didn't think we were going to win, honestly. But I mean, we have to win these key SEC games if we want to make the tournament.
Right. Yeah. And adding Oklahoma and Texas into the fray obviously is tough. State women have Oklahoma in Starkville on Thursday at 6:30, which is another opportunity for a top 10 win before things are all said and done. So that would absolutely be helpful. For the men, I did want to touch on this. In that win against South Carolina, Hubbard finally seemed to have a little bit of rhythm going. He was having some trouble scoring in the last couple of games, but shot 50% from three, hit 5 threes, 21 points. Almost shot over 50% from the field. Claudel Harris, the exact same. Finally get those guys back, but having the 12 from Keyshawn is huge. If Riley Kugel can give you the 12 to 15 that he has been giving, State's going to be a tough team to deal with. And this is a team from Mississippi State that they have just not had in years. I mean, last season you had the scoring of Tolu whenever, when the ball wasn't dropped, and then Hubbard. And after that, like, there just wasn't really a good third option. It was Deshaun Davis every once in a while. Now with this team, you have multiple options, and that's why I'm really excited to see what they do in league play. They were 8-10 last season in a good SEC. This is a great SEC. So that they certainly have to work and do some business on Tuesday night to figure that out. Also, you were talking about Jacayla Jordan getting her own sauce. Fun fact that the company that sponsored the sauce is owned by Reggie Kelly, who's a former Mississippi State tight end in the NFL. And fun fact, our parents did Reggie Kelly's wedding. So how about that? So I don't know. That's always a fun fact. And Jerry Rice's sister, for those who are wondering. Those are the two main ones from whenever my parents were on Main Street there in Starkville. We will take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk about Mississippi State's football's portal. Talk about kind of where they sit in the portal currently. Some of the people that are visiting as of Sunday, so today, and or when this is filmed at least. And there's a really kind of a key position Mississippi State needs to fill, and we will talk about that next, right here after the break from Neil.
All MPW digital podcasts are brought to you by our friends at Parish Brewing Company, located in the heart of Cajun country in Broussard, Louisiana. Parish Brewing Company's simple goal is to make awesome craft brewed beer, and they do it remarkably well. The doctor is introducing their new go-to IPA, Dr. Juice. It's a highly crushable juice bomb, dry hopped with a blend of their favorite hand-selected hops from the Yakima Valley in Washington. Dr. Juice's drinkability is sneaky good, considering it clocks in at 6% ABV. The pour glows a rich cantaloupe hue with a thick frosted haze, soft mouthfeel, an aroma and taste that's full of passion fruit, papaya, and blood orange, making it drink like a glass of freshly squeezed juice. They also have Ghost in the Machine. It's a double IPA brewed with obscene quantities of hand-selected Citra hops from Yakima Valley. Expect pungent grapefruit flavors and aromas, tropical fruit, less harsh bitterness than most IPAs. Again, it's Parish Brewing Company. Wherever you get your beer, check out Parish. Make sure that you look for them, because any beer that you get from Parish is going to be absolutely outstanding. Thank you from MPW Digital.
Back to MPW Digital, and specifically, my dogs are barking on MPW Digital. Mississippi State, and over the break, Austin, while we were gone for Christmas time and into New Year, State added Fluff Bothwell. We knew that was a really, really big addition. On Friday, Mississippi State added cornerback Dwight Lewis III from Austin. Do you remember the university where he came from? It's pop quiz time.
Marion. Marian University.
That's right. That's right. Marian University, which is an NAIA school. Really talented guy. Had a lot of offers, but Lord have mercy, that's a jump, man. Like that's a jump in between covering guys from NAIA and then, going one-on-one with Luther Burden types, the next day. It's a big difference. We'll see how things shake out there. Will Whitson, of course, the Coastal Carolina defensive lineman, was added on the 30th. I'm trying to just do a quick recap of some of the things we missed while we were gone. Mississippi State added some head coaches. Phil Lodeholt, the former University of Oklahoma star, NFL star that came over from Colorado, and so he is going to be a part of Mississippi State. I think where State is right now in the portal, and I'm going to share my screen for those who are watching here with us on YouTube. Share my screen on the additions in the transfer portal for Mississippi State. Where they are right now, Austin, the biggest need, the biggest question mark is wide receiver by a long shot. Thus far, the only guys they have added is Brennan Thompson and Jerron Glover. As we see there on the screen, they have several players that are visiting this weekend. Cam Thompson from NIU, who had about 300 yards receiving this past off season, is visiting Darwin. Is it Darwin James? Desmond James? Is that correct? The wide receiver from Arkansas, who really only started. I think he only started in one game, but he started in the bowl game and it was explosive. Had like 130 yards, 140 yards, and he entered the portal. He's on a visit. State needs to make sure they address that wide receiver position in a big way. Ole Miss wide receiver Aiden Williams entered the portal on Saturday. And allegedly, Jeff Levy had reached out to him the moment he entered the portal and is going to look to get him on campus. He's the former number one player in Mississippi a couple years ago. This is the one big question mark, Austin. Is State looking for like 3 different receivers? Or are you looking for 2 more receivers, but one of them has to be a bona fide, guy who produced a lot? What exactly are they needing?
Yeah, I mean, they're looking for. I mean, we're looking for a wide receiver one. I mean, we lost Trent Hudson, we lost Creed Whitmore, we lost JJ Harrell, we lost. I mean, Stonka's moving to defense, so we lost him on offense. I mean, we lost. I mean, think about all those players, and then obviously we lost Kelly Akari, we lost Kevin Coleman, we lost Mario Craver. I mean, who's in the room right now? It's crazy. Jordan Mosley right now is sad and lonely over there. So we got to get as many bodies as we can. But I mean, we got to get a playmaker. None of these guys that we're looking at. I mean, so far, and knock on wood. I mean, I might be wrong about this going into next year, but none of these guys look like they can easily come in here and be wide receiver one. I mean, Kevin Coleman was a top 75 recruit. Kelly Akari was over 1,000-yard receiver at UTEP. So we thought, these guys have really good potential. Nobody that we're looking at right now has great potential. And, but potential, we don't know what they're going to do on the field. But I mean, as of right now, just on paper, that none of these guys look like wide receiver ones. And, for somebody like Jeff Levy, I mean, dime times, score from afar, showtime. We got to get some better wide receivers in here. Aiden Williams, I mean, again, he wasn't like their wide receiver one at Ole Miss. So we got to keep looking around. We got to get better options. But I mean, right now, that wide receiver room might be a little thin next season.
Yeah, and I mentioned Cam Thompson being on campus, James from Arkansas being on campus. Another guy that looks as a potential to bring in, because Aiden Williams is one of them. Anthony Evans, the former Georgia wide receiver and kick returner, is another guy that's talented. Had a really bad injury, but appears State has some interest with him. It appears as if State has got to get. Well, I say that. So people are freaking out because Kevin Coleman left, but Kevin Coleman only had 300 yards at Louisville. So, some of these guys, you have to look at their potential, because that's what Jeff Levy did with Kevin Coleman. I mean, look what Coleman did. Now, there is a difference between 300 yards at NIU and 300 yards at Louisville, where there's just you're playing different competition as a whole. So they need to address that, and then it would be nice to get another cornerback. I don't know if the guy from the NAIA can just start at corner immediately. And then I forgot, they also got the guy from Kennesaw State But if I were to tell you that State added 2 wide receivers, say they added Cam Thompson, who I don't know, I feel like that's a guy that they'll take if they want him. If they were to take, say, him and Aiden Williams, would that be enough?
I mean, for now, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, how good of a season are we going to have next year? We got to look at that. I mean, it would be good enough, I guess, for
Levy cannot afford another 2-10 season for sure.
yeah. I mean, if we go 2-10, yeah, he's gone. And I mean, I think these guys. I mean, I think we're going to be much better next year. I mean, you look at the schedule; we're going to have around the same schedule as last year. I mean, look at the college football playoff. We're probably playing them. Let's be honest. I mean, Arizona State, Texas, I mean, Georgia. It's pretty crazy how the gauntlet we went on this year, and then the gauntlet we're going on next year. I'm gonna hopefully I don't the viewers don't get tired of me saying it because I'm gonna bring it up a lot. But I mean, we got to be honest. Those guys are not. I mean, just on paper, those guys are not huge needle movers. But who knows? Who knows? Like we saw 300 yards from Kevin Coleman just at Louisville last year. He was really known for a returner. So we'll see. But if we want to go 5-7, we need to get 5-7. At best 6-6. I think we got to get some better guys, or these guys have to have a massive jump to be in Jeff Lebby's offense. And we could see it. I mean, Brendan Thompson from Oklahoma, he might not be good at all next year, but he might be our wide receiver 1. We just don't know. And, the kid from Michigan State, Glover, I think, as well, he has a lot of potential, but just on paper, we're not really seeing it.
Right. Yeah. And you're exactly right. In terms of what's proven, we know this guy can do these kind of things. That remains to be seen. Now, here's the great news for Mississippi State as we finish up. It is possible with Davon Booth returning potentially with NCAA waiver and Fluff Bothwell from South Alabama that the running game is about to get a lot better. When that happens, you are going to free up your receivers for a lot more opportunities. Remember, Mississippi State's running game was really dormant for the first 5 weeks of the season. It was really, really rough. And then Davon Booth started getting going. Johnny Daniels started getting going, and now State hasn't even has Davon Booth back and Fluff Bothwell, kind of moving after such a dominant season at South Alabama. So State has an opportunity to really move the ball running the game or in the running game. But when it comes to receivers, man, they're just I don't know. I think there's reason for concern. They have not landed on a guy that they really need. A lot of them, even if you add Aiden Williams and you add James, you add Thompson, you're still like, we'll see what happens. There's no sort of, we know this guy can do this. That's gotta be mildly concerning.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the same with defense too. I mean, cornerbacks, there's nobody really proven. I mean, Kelly Jones played in the SEC last year. He didn't play phenomenal, but there's nobody proven. I mean, safety, obviously Isaac Smith's proven, but I mean, Stonka's not proven. Tony Mitchell, I mean, is really not proven. I mean, he has a lot of potential. He could be very good for us next year, but I mean, let's be honest, he's not very proven. And we got a lot of guys coming in, especially on defense, that they might have been really good at NIU, but let's see what they do let's see what they do in the SEC. So, I mean, next year there's a lot of question marks on almost every position. How is Blake Shapen going to be healthy? How is Luke Cromenhog? Is he going to be okay? I mean, just Davon Booth, we know him, but I mean, this offensive line, I can say I feel certain that we're going to be better on the offensive line this year. And, that's really good to, talk about, because we haven't really talked about Fluff Bothwell, as he's been here. Davon Booth, Fluff Bothwell, let's just say Booth doesn't stay because he hasn't said anything yet. I mean, Fluff Bothwell, he could be very good in the SEC. A little question mark because he came from South Alabama, but I mean, he has great potential to be very good, and he has multiple years of eligibility. So,
and he's shown he can do it. Like he's produced somewhere else.
Exactly. So he has a lot of potential, and I think the running game is going to be much better next year. And we got a lot of guys, Seth Davis, who's young. We got a lot of guys, Xavier Gayton, who's young. We got a lot of guys that can come in and make a difference in these next couple years, because next year is going to be, I mean, next year is 2025 is going to be a wild season for Mississippi State. I mean, anything can happen. We have no idea what's going to happen. And with Jeff Lebby and this defense, with Coleman Hutzler, we don't know what kind of defense we're going to get. And, I'm glad we made a couple changes. We moved a couple guys around, and we needed to do that because, I thought about it a couple weeks ago. We have a losing staff, and, I mean, like last year, losing staff. We can't bring the same losing staff in next year. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So I'm glad we made some changes, that are much needed changes, and let's get the ball rolling for 2025.
Yeah, I'm with you. The defensive linemen that they brought in, some of them have produced. I think Whitson's a really good player. Rasheem Thomas led all defensive linemen last year not last year in terms of 2024, 2023 in tackles, with 72. And then like Darren Reed's a guy they brought in, has not produced, but has potential. Will Whitson has produced, but this past season was not had some injuries. Malik Sila, I don't know how to pronounce it, but the edge rusher from Texas A&M has not really produced. Jere Bledsoe has not produced. I mean, like there are so many of these guys you go down the line, you're like, maybe, but there's just no sort of proof of concept yet. And I do think the defense is going to be better next season because you've given yourself more options. And in the end, State did not have many options, and the options they had the season weren't great. So I think State is going to be in a better spot coming next season. So we will be back with you on Thursday afternoon, and we will talk about Mississippi State's game against Vanderbilt, talk about any other news in the transfer portal. And man, so excited. We're going back to 2 days a week starting now. So very excited for 2025 on the My Dogs Are Barking podcast. Thank you guys so much, as always, for listening, and we'll catch you next time.